Tonight's story is different. This isn't folklore passed down through generations. This isn't a legend that might have happened centuries ago. This is real. This is documented. This is a case where every phone record, every search report, every witness statement is on file. And it's a case that should not be possible. May 14th, 2008, Marshall, Minnesota. A small town where everybody knows everybody, where the roads stretch long and dark between farm fields, where the night sky goes black in a way city people never experience. Brandon Swanson was 19 years old, a college student, someone's son. He'd been at a party in the nearby town of Lind, just a short drive from home. Nothing unusual, nothing dangerous, just a regular night for a teenager in rural Minnesota. Around midnight, Brandon's car went into a ditch along a gravel road. The vehicle wasn't damaged, Brandon wasn't hurt. It was the kind of minor accident that happens all the time in farm country, especially at night when the roads have no streetlights and the ditches blend into the darkness. So Brandon did what anyone would do. He called his parents for help. His father, Brian, and his mother, Annette, answered immediately. They got in their car and started driving toward where Brandon said he was, keeping him on the phone the whole time, speaker on, talking to their son, hearing his voice, hearing his footsteps on gravel, hearing him breathe. For 47 minutes, they listened to Brandon walk through the darkness, trying to find a road, trying to meet them somewhere visible. They heard the wind. They heard him occasionally comment on what he was seeing. They heard the crunch of his shoes on gravel roads. And then, suddenly, clearly, they heard him say two words.
Oh, shit!
Oh, shit. And the line went dead. Brandon Swanson vanished without a trace while people were listening. His parents kept calling back. The phone rang, but no one answered. They drove through the night searching, panic rising with every mile. When dawn came, search teams arrived. Dogs, volunteers, deputies, helicopters, everything. They found Brandon's car exactly where he said it would be. Driver's door open, keys inside, completely undamaged. But Brandon? Gone. No body, no blood, no clothing, no phone, no evidence of a struggle, no footprints leading anywhere conclusive. Just silence where a voice had been 47 minutes before. What happened in those final seconds? Where did he go? How do you disappear while someone is actively listening to you on the phone? Tonight, we're going to walk through every verified detail of this case, every timeline entry, every search effort, every unanswered question. Because this isn't a ghost story where we can say, maybe it's legend, maybe it's real. This happened, and no one knows why. Before we go further, I want to say something. If you're drawn to real mysteries like this, cases that remain unsolved, stories that challenge everything we think we understand about disappearances and searches and modern technology, then stay with me on this channel. Hit that like button if you want more deep dives into cases like Brandon's. Subscribe if you want to explore the unexplained, the unresolved, the cases that keep investigators awake at night. Because this story only gets deeper the more you learn, and I promise you, by the end of this, you'll understand why Brandon Swanson's disappearance is considered one of the most baffling missing persons cases in American history. To understand what happened to Brandon, you need to understand where this happened. Marshall, Minnesota, is a small city in Lyon County, southwestern Minnesota, about 150 miles southwest of Minneapolis. The population in 2008 was around 13,000 people. It's the kind of place where farming dominates the economy, where high school sports games are community events, where everyone recognizes each other's vehicles on the road. Brandon Swanson was a student at Minnesota West Community and Technical College in Canby, Minnesota. He was 19 years old, described by everyone who knew him as responsible, smart, and close with his family. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't the kind of kid who disappeared on purpose. He had plans, a future, people who cared about him. On the night of May 13th, 2008, going into the early morning of May 14th, Brandon attended an end-of-year celebration in Lind, Minnesota, a small town about 25 miles from Marshall. It was a party with friends, nothing wild, just college kids celebrating the end of the semester. Around midnight, Brandon decided to head home. He said goodbye, got in his white 1998 Chevy Lumina, and started driving back toward Marshall on the rural roads that crisscross southwestern Minnesota. Now, here's something you need to understand about this area. The roads out there aren't like city streets. No streetlights, no gas stations every few miles, no houses with porch lights to guide you. Just long stretches of gravel and asphalt cutting through endless fields of corn and soybeans. In May, the crops are just starting to grow, so the fields are mostly empty, flat, and dark. The landscape is also deceptively tricky. There are small rivers, drainage ditches, embankments, all of which look identical in the dark. And if you're not familiar with every turn, it's easy to misjudge where you are, especially at night. Brandon was driving along County Road 21, a gravel road, when his car went into a ditch. He later told his parents he thought he was near the town of Lind, close to where the party had been. He wasn't injured, the car wasn't badly damaged, but he was stuck and he needed help. So at 12:30 a.m., he called his parents. His father, Brian Swanson, answered. Brandon explained what happened. He'd gone into a ditch, he was fine, but he needed a ride. Could they come get him? Of course, his parents said. Stay on the phone, we're coming. And that's when the 47-minute call began. Brian and Annette Swanson got into their truck and started driving toward Lind, where Brandon said he was. They kept their son on speakerphone, talking to him, reassuring him, trying to figure out exactly where he was. Brandon started walking. He told his parents he could see lights in the distance, maybe from the town of Lind. He said he was walking toward them, trying to meet his parents halfway, trying to make it easier for everyone. His parents drove slowly through Lind, flashing their headlights, honking the horn, but Brandon said he couldn't see them. That should have been the first sign that something was wrong. Because Brandon wasn't near Lind at all. He was almost 25 miles away, near the town of Taunton, in a completely different direction. But no one knew that yet.
Let's pause for a second and picture what Brandon was experiencing. It's past midnight. You're 19 years old, alone on a gravel road in the middle of farm country. There's no moan, or if there is, it's hidden behind clouds. The darkness out here isn't like darkness in a city, where there's always some ambient light from street lamps or buildings. This is complete, swallowing darkness, the kind where you can't see your own hand in front of your face if you're away from your headlights. Brandon's car had gone into a ditch along County Road 21. The vehicle was a 1998 Chevy Lumina, a mid-sized sedan, white, older but reliable. When the car went into the ditch, it didn't flip, it didn't crash violently, it just slid off the road, probably because of the gravel, probably because it's easy to misjudge the edge of a road when there are no lines painted, no reflectors, nothing to mark where the road ends and the ditch begins. The car came to rest at an angle, nose down slightly but not severely. Brandon tried to drive it out, but the wheels just spun in the soft earth. The car was stuck, but it was fine. No broken windows, no deployed airbags, no mechanical damage that would make it undrivable once it was pulled out. Brandon got out of the car. He assessed the situation. He wasn't hurt. The night was cool, probably in the mid-40s Fahrenheit, typical for mid-May in Minnesota. Not freezing, but cool enough that you'd want a jacket if you were going to be outside for a while. He had his cell phone. He had battery life, and he had his parents' number. At approximately 12:30 a.m., he called home. His father, Brian, was still awake. In small towns, it's not unusual for parents to stay up when they know their kid is out, just in case there's a flat tire or a dead battery, or in this case, a car in a ditch. "Dad, I went into a ditch," Brandon said, his voice calm. "I'm not hurt, but I'm stuck. Can you come get me?" "Of course," Brian said. "Where are you?" "I'm near Lind," Brandon said. "I can see the lights of the town. I'm going to start walking toward them." This made sense to Brian. Lind was only about 10 miles from where Brandon had been at the party. It was on a direct route back to Marshall. If Brandon had gone into a ditch near Lind, Brian and his wife Annette could be there in 20 minutes, maybe less. So they got in their pickup truck and started driving, keeping Brandon on the phone the whole time. Brandon began walking. And this is where the geography becomes crucial, because Brandon's sense of where he was and where he actually was were catastrophically different. Brandon believed he was near Lind, Minnesota, a small town northwest of Marshall. He told his parents he could see lights, which he assumed were the lights of Lind. But Brandon was actually near Taunton, Minnesota, a tiny community northeast of Marshall, in the opposite direction, nearly 25 miles away from where he thought he was. How does this happen? Researchers and investigators later determined that Brandon had likely taken a wrong turn somewhere after leaving the party, possibly mistaking one gravel road for another. In that area, roads intersect at perfect right angles, cutting through fields in a grid pattern. At night, especially if you're slightly disoriented or unfamiliar with the specific roads, it's easy to think you're on one road when you're actually on another parallel road miles away. The lights Brandon saw weren't from Lind. They were probably from Taunton, or possibly Porter, another small community in the area, or even just farmhouse lights scattered across the dark landscape. But Brandon didn't know this, and his parents didn't know this. So Brandon kept walking, and his parents kept driving, and for nearly 47 minutes, everyone believed they were getting closer to each other. Brian and Annette drove through Lind, flashing their headlights, honking their horn. "Do you see us?" they asked. "No, I don't see anything yet." They drove up and down the roads around Lind. Nothing. Brandon kept walking. They could hear his footsteps. They could hear gravel crunching under his shoes. They could hear him breathing, occasionally commenting on what he was seeing. "I'm passing a field," he might say, or "I think I see more lights ahead." His voice was calm. He didn't sound scared. He sounded like a kid trying to navigate his way out of a minor inconvenience. But the inconvenience was becoming a mystery. Why couldn't they find each other?
Imagine being Brian and Annette Swanson in this moment. Your son is on the phone. You can hear him. He's walking, he's talking, he's clearly fine physically, but you can't see him. He can't see you, and nothing about the geography is making sense. This went on for 47 minutes. 47 minutes of active conversation. 47 minutes of listening to your child walk through the darkness, trying to meet you, trying to make this easier. The phone records later confirmed this timeline exactly. The call began at approximately 12:30 a.m. It ended at approximately 1:15 a.m. No dropped signal, no battery failure. The call was continuous. During this time, Brandon was walking. Investigators later estimated, based on the timeline and the terrain, that he probably walked between 2 and 3 miles during that call. But where was he walking? The most likely route, based on where his car was eventually found, is that Brandon was walking along gravel roads and possibly through fields near the Yellow Medicine River, a small river that winds through that part of Lyon County. The Yellow Medicine River isn't a big river. In most places, it's only about 10 to 15 feet wide, shallow in some spots, deeper in others. In mid-May, after spring rains, the water level would have been higher than usual, and the current, while not violent, would have been steady. The riverbanks in that area are steep in some places, gradual in others. There are trees, brush, and uneven terrain. In daylight, it's navigable. In complete darkness, it's treacherous. But Brandon didn't mention a river. He didn't say, "I'm near water," or "I hear running water." He just kept walking, describing fields and lights and roads. His parents kept driving, trying different routes, calling out his name, flashing their lights. And then, at 1:15 a.m., something changed. Brandon's tone shifted slightly. He said something that his parents later described as sounding surprised or maybe confused. He said, "Oh shit." And then the line went dead. Not static, not a fade out, just dead. 1 second, Brandon's voice. The next second, silence. Brian immediately tried calling back. The phone rang, and rang, and rang, but no one answered. He called again. Same thing. The phone was still on, still receiving calls, but Brandon wasn't picking up. Annette tried. Same result. They kept calling over and over as they drove frantically through the area, now genuinely panicked. What does "oh shit" mean? Did he see something? Did he realize something? Did he trip? Did he fall? Was it surprise? Was it fear? Was it pain? The phrase is so brief, so ambiguous, that it's become one of the most analyzed pieces of evidence in the case. Some people think it sounds like someone who just realized they made a wrong turn. Others think it sounds like someone who just saw something unexpected. Others think it sounds like someone who just lost their footing. But whatever it meant, it was the last thing Brandon Swanson ever said.
When Brandon's parents couldn't reach him, they didn't wait. They immediately called the Lyon County Sheriff's Office. This is important. They reported Brandon missing within hours, not days. There was no waiting period. No, let's see if he shows up in the morning. They knew something was wrong, and they acted on it. The first official search began on the morning of May 14, 2008, just hours after Brandon's last words. Deputies from the Lyon County Sheriff's Office arrived. They brought search dogs, ATVs, and volunteers. They started at the location where Brandon said he was, near Lind, but found nothing. Then they expanded the search. At around 1 p.m. on May 14th, a deputy found Brandon's car, but it wasn't near Lind. It was near Taunton, almost 25 miles northeast of where everyone had been looking. The white Chevy Lumina was in a ditch along County Road 21, driver's door open, keys in the ignition, completely undamaged. There was no sign of a struggle, no blood, no indication that anything violent had happened. Brandon's glasses were inside the car, so were his wallet and some personal items, but his cell phone was gone, presumably because he'd taken it with him when he started walking. The discovery of the car's actual location changed everything. If Brandon had been walking from that location, and if he'd been walking toward what he thought was Lind, he would have been walking northwest, possibly along gravel roads, possibly through fields, possibly near the Yellow Medicine River. Search teams immediately shifted their focus to that area. Canine units were brought in. These were trained scent dogs, capable of tracking a person's path based on the scent left behind on the ground, on vegetation, on the air itself. The dogs picked up Brandon's scent near the car. They followed it along the gravel road, and then, near the Yellow Medicine River, the scent trail stopped. Not faded, stopped. As if Brandon had simply ceased to exist at that point. This is one of the most haunting details of the case. Scent dogs are incredibly reliable. When they lose a trail, it usually means one of a few things. The person got into a vehicle, the person entered water, or the person's scent was otherwise disrupted. There was no evidence of a vehicle, so the most likely explanation, according to search coordinators, was that Brandon had entered the river, either intentionally or accidentally. But if he'd entered the river, where was his body? The Yellow Medicine River was searched extensively. Divers went into the water. Teams walked the banks for miles, both upstream and downstream from where the scent trail ended. They used boats, probes, sonar equipment, everything available. Nothing. No clothing, no phone, no remains. The search expanded even further. Volunteers from surrounding counties joined. Helicopters flew overhead, scanning the fields and riverbanks with infrared cameras. Ground teams walked grid patterns through the fields, looking for any sign, a shoe, a piece of fabric, anything. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. More than 120 square miles were searched. Thousands of volunteer hours were logged. Every ditch, every field, every riverbank, every culvert, every patch of brush was examined. Brandon Swanson had vanished as completely as if he'd never existed.
So, why does Brandon Swanson's disappearance haunt people so deeply? It's not just because he vanished. People disappear tragically every day. It's because of the circumstances. Brandon wasn't in a dangerous place. He wasn't doing anything reckless. He was walking along a rural road, talking to his parents, trying to get home. It was mundane. It was ordinary. It was the kind of situation that should have ended with a tow truck and a ride home and a funny story to tell later. But instead, it ended in silence. And that silence is terrifying because it's unexplainable. We live in a world where we expect explanations. We expect that if someone disappears, there will be evidence, there will be clues, there will be something that tells us what happened. But in Brandon's case, there's almost nothing. A car in a ditch, a 47-minute phone call, 2 words, and then nothing. The searches turned up no body, no clothing, no phone, no physical evidence of what happened after that call ended. It's as if Brandon Swanson stepped out of reality. And maybe that's why this case resonates so deeply, because it forces us to confront the possibility that sometimes we just don't get answers. Sometimes people we love can vanish in the middle of a conversation, and we'll never know why. It's a reminder that the world is bigger and stranger and more unpredictable than we want to believe. It's a reminder that there are still mysteries we can't solve.
even with all our technology, all our resources, all our determination. Brandon's parents did everything right. They stayed on the phone, they drove out immediately, they called for help, they organized searches, they never gave up. And still, their son is gone. If you ever find yourself driving through southwestern Minnesota, through those long, dark stretches of gravel roads that cut through endless fields, you might think about Brandon. You might imagine a 19-year-old walking through the darkness, phone to his ear, believing he's almost home. You might imagine the sound of footsteps on gravel, the sound of breathing, the sound of a voice saying, "I think I see lights ahead." And then you might imagine the silence. Brandon Swanson vanished while being heard. The night holds his steps. The river or the fields or something we can't name took him, and the world never saw him again. If you have any information about Brandon's disappearance, please contact the Lyon County Sheriff's Office. Even the smallest detail might matter. To Brandon's family, your son is not forgotten. And to everyone watching, hold your loved ones close. Call them back. Answer when they call. Because sometimes a conversation is the last thing you'll ever have. Thank you for staying with me through this case. I know it's heavy. I know it doesn't have the resolution we all want. If you want to see more deep dives into real unsolved cases, please let me know in the comments. And if you have cases you'd like me to cover, send them to me via email in the description. Take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. I'll see you in the next one. Sleep well if you can. Bye.